All right, we're back again, another weekly preview. I've been out for the last few weeks, been super busy, and really, the chop has begun here overall with the SPY, hitting all-time highs, now coming back down, finding the channel here. So AK-47 Prime Trading Investments with another weekly preview on levels, and the government's back to working. So we have PR releases this week, right? That we may not have gotten in the past few weeks or last month because of the government shutdown. Also, NVDA earnings, probably the last big earnings report. Then we head off into Thanksgiving and a little bit maybe slower times here over the next maybe 2 weeks as we chop around, in my opinion, to end the rest of this month. And you can see here, overall, since the SPY has had a pullback, you can go across the board with Apple probably being the only chart that's going to look different. And AMD is a little bit of a spike back on up. But you can see here, for the most part, all of these charts have been down. You can see here from Thursday, Google's made a pretty good darn return back on up. But most of the charts are in the same here, on the same boat, going down, then back up, going down, then back up here, all the way from PLTR. You can see almost all these charts. No, they're different charts. Some of them looking very similar compared to others there. But across the board, we're down, down, and then we are back on up. And you can just see overall that movement. Now let's go to the 15-day, 15-minute time frame, just to give you a gist of what I think is going to happen this week. And we will start with the SPY here. Now, what I feel when we get out of the SPY is we're going to chop around. I talked about this in the weekly preview. I know I've got a lot of lines going on. Let me get rid of these lines. No need for those. These are all old trend lines actually here for the SPY that we're actually just working through here. So we have the old trend line up that we're still bouncing off of. And I'll go back through and kind of zoom in on some of these. See this old resistance channel right through there? Well, we actually regained that for a little bit, and then we failed off of it. So that's where these lines come in at. It's from this little channel through here. This resistance channel, boom, 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 broke out of it, bounced on of it. So now we're kind of snapping through it, trying to hold it. And, of course, the bottom uptrend channel you have right here. So those are really the four lines I'm working with overall with the SPY as we're working our way on up. And I say we chop around again this week, where the bottom's most likely no lower than the 661, and we get no higher than 855, 856. I feel we chop around yet again this week. I was going to do a weekly preview last week, just got busy on Sunday, posted more stock-related material. I want to get back to you guys, let you know I just feel, in my opinion, for the rest of this month, that we will chop around in channel most likely. We're just say for the rest of the month we get higher than no higher than 690 and no lower than 650. So even if we see a spike back on up, I don't think we get higher than 690 most likely for the rest of the month. We shall see. But in my prediction, at least for this coming week, and then we have Thanksgiving coming up after that, would be us chopping around at least this coming week. 661 bottoms, 686 tops. Ultimate high would be 690. Ultimate low would be somehow we have releases and maybe Trump tweets some whatever, and we get down in the 650s to 655 area. But normal high and low 661, 685, and I feel like we get that way across the board. You can see Apple's been pretty much in a chop boat over the past 2 months almost now, well, at least month and a half. We had that one explosion from earnings, but otherwise we're at 266 and now 77, trying to create a little bit new channel when we were just right through here. I feel the same thing here. We stay chopped around. If we do go up, we don't get any higher than 285, and we go low, we don't get lower than any 265. Over to AMD. You can see the channels we're starting to create here, right? I think we chop around again for the rest of the month in these channels right here. Google, 270, 265 to the top. You know, to what, 35, maybe 225 for the bottom. And so we're just chopping around. We're trying to find the base. We're trying to find the top. And eventually, in my opinion, the SPY and everything will break out and go to new all-time highs. This is one that has a little bit bigger pullback. Amazon has kind of gotten out of this choppier channel since the earnings report there a couple of weeks ago. Could see some more continuation on down, so this play may not run true hand-in-hand, as we would call it, running simultaneously, and may run independently on its own. But most of these other plays that I alert and look at, you can see we're just chopping around in a channel. We're not really going anywhere, in my opinion, over the next week. BE's been another good mover, was chopping around a pretty good channel there for about almost a full month with 148, 145, 150 tops, 120 bottoms. Now that we cracked out of that 120 bottom, had a couple of really big $20 days. So that's one to keep your eye on. Running with the market, but a good energy play and good energy sector. Overall, the energy sector has been booming here recently. But again, I know Google on the way up. Popping up there from the lows there on Friday and moving our way back on up. But we've done this so much recently and have just come right back on down. Again, chop mode for the rest of November. You might as well just call this November chop, because this is exactly what we're getting here. Now, Meta is matriculating on down. This is going to see a big boom back on up soon. Do not be surprised if by December into the new year, this thing is back up into the mid $700 range. That one to me this week, NVDA, as well as what was the other one? NVDA and Amazon. NVDA and Amazon have Meta, my bad. Meta and Amazon have a real good chance to run a little more independently and give you a little less hand-in-hand action. Right here again, choppy action. You know, to me, we're just back in this channel where it's 177, 175 bottoms, 197, 200 tops. I think we just chop around there for the rest of this month, not only this week, but the rest of the month. Same for here for PLTR. We can find a base here right around the 160 mark. It was about the 170 mark, but truly right here now we're trying to hold that. Popping back on up this week, with that being the low on Friday, we probably get it no higher than 185 to around 188 this month, or the rest of this month, especially this week. We got to think about this. We have this full week. Then after that, we have Thanksgiving, which Thanksgiving week for large cap plays is generally slower. Again here, just chopping around, finding a base probably right around this 590-ish or so mark, with the top being right around 615, 620. Now, if we can get back over that, watch for a move back up to 625. But again, you can just see here, at least over the past couple of weeks, the bottom right around this 597, 600 mark, and the tops being right around 625. So again, it's just channel mode. It's just chop mode for the rest of this month. PLTR, you can see trying to chop around here. Overall, big time. Bottoms being right around this 162, right? You know, you're just seeing the same thing over and over and over from all these stickers. I think I already showed off PLTR. I feel like I'm looking almost the same chart almost over and over and over again. Tesla, this week, backwards. Tesla, Meta, B, and Amazon have a better shot to run independently on their own, in my opinion. Now, again, if Tesla can pop its way back up over 620, look how long. This is a 2-month long plus an almost 3-month long now chop until we broke out of it. We entered the chop. I'm almost done. We entered the chop right around September the 15th. We cracked out of it on November the 13th. That's 2 months where the bottom was 410-ish, the top in the 4. You know, you could see the chop. We're just going to stay this way for the rest of this month, in my opinion. Not much time left in this month. This week, too, as well, with this big rebound from Friday back on up. I feel like we do exactly what we've been doing is we rebound, we chop back on up. 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 We rebound, bounce, essentially is what I mean by rebound. We bounce, we go right back on up. I feel we stay that way this week. I don't feel anything different's going to come. In my opinion, we'll see where we are at the end of this week if I need to do another weekly preview for essentially what is going to be kind of the last week of November, which is Thanksgiving. Although we'll have a couple of days there of November, the week after that as we head into December. But in my opinion, the next 2 weeks, chop and channel mode. So take that and understand that we'll be that way until we have that Santa Claus rally and most likely then squeeze the new all-time highs into the new year. For small cap plays, it's been relatively dead and slow. I called this out for weeks on end. We get really hot like we did in September. We got hot a little earlier than we typically did, usually do, which usually we don't get hot until mid to late October, which carries through Thanksgiving. Well, now we got super hot really early this year, early September. That carried through October, so there's our month and a half of penny stock hotness. It's going to be slow this week in small caps. Top gainers maybe getting over 100%. We've had a couple 200, 300, 400% movers, but they're halting up and down. They're hard to trade, and they crash right back on down. They're not real true runners. The real runners we're having that stay up throughout the day and hold up through lunch, and maybe you'll see it another day or two later, they're up 40% on the day, 50% up on the day, 30% up on the day, and that's where your top gainers are at. You're going from like 80, 90, 100% maybe to 60, a 50% gainer, and then to the 30s, 40s, 20s, right? We're heading right on down. We don't have a lot of top gainers. It's going to be slow this week as well in the small cap space. The only thing I could see providing any sort of lift off would be NVDA and the earnings on Wednesday. And again, watch those plays that can run, that's not running hand in hand. We may get hand in hand action over the next week into Thanksgiving, so pay attention to that. I just want to get on here real quickly and give you guys a quick little snippet of what I've been seeing and what you guys should be seeing. I'll see you guys soon. And, of course, come join the live stream if you want daily levels that I'm killing out. I don't want to really break down any levels this week and kind of give you generalities of the high and the low of the chop that we're in. But if you need individually day levels that are given out, that I give you high of day and low of day, ultimate high of day, ultimate low of day, where to trade, what not to trade, what levels you should be trading and looking at, leading you into the opening bell so you know what to be trading, sign up for those morning alerts. They're $30 a month. $30 a month. And I will be doing, which I'll put a post out, a Black Friday sale, and it's one you're not going to want to miss with a lot of added freebies to make you the trader you want to become. See you next time here on the morning or the weekly levels here with the AK-47 Josh Smith Trades, Prime Trading Investments. I got all kinds of names. See you soon.